the theories related to evolution, we have studied about Lamarckism, a very funny story of use and disuse of organs. Then we had done the second theory of Darwinism. Darwinism, although it is more logical than Lamarckism, but it is not 100% true. Okay, why it is not true? We'll study. So in Darwinism, we studied about natural selection, branching descent, to which to some extent does appear correct to us. Okay, more logical than Lamarckism. Then we had studied about Hugo de Vere's theories, which is also popularly known as the mutation theory. And in mutation theory, although logical, yes, it is very logical, Hugo de Vere's theory, although there's quite a similarity between Darwin's theory and Hugo de Vere's, but Darwin said that all changes are coming very slowly over generation. There is no random change. Suddenly, one new character cannot appear. Suddenly, a new species cannot be formed. But Hugo de Vere said, no, it can happen. New species can suddenly arise. And why they can suddenly arise? Because of a sudden mutation. If suddenly a mutation occurs, suppose an atom bomb falls and the radiation coming out changes the species in such a way that the new species is not able to interpret with the old species. The new organisms which are produced, they are not no longer able to interpret with the old organism. What do we call this thing as? Speciation. They are able to interpret with the similar type, but not with the old type. So speciation has occurred. So yes, Hugo de Vere's theory was more or less accepted, and yes, it was believed that yes, mutations can lead to a new evolution. After this, after Hugo de Vere's theories, we have to study the last theory, and this last theory is the theory that is the modern theory, modern concept of evolution. And what is there in the modern concept of evolution? Modern concept of evolution is also known as neo-Darwinism. Okay, this is not there in this. We had reached here. We were discussing about Hugo de Vere's theory. After Hugo de Vere's theory, one theory which is missing here, even in your NCRTs, is the modern concept of evolution, and this is known as neo-Darwinism. Why it is neo-Darwinism? Because it is actually what is modern concept of evolution. It is a mixture. It's a mixture of Darwin's theory and a mixture of Hugo de Vere's theory. Both are mixed together, and then a statement was given, and that statement says basically the synthetic theory says that the evolution can take place because of sudden changes, because of changes which are inherited over generations. Okay, so mutations which are heritable, those mutations can show a change in the genetic population. Okay, so if a population evolves, it is not because of all the individual members. It is because of changes which are taking place in some of the members of a population. And this is also known as the synthetic theory of evolution. And it was it was given by T. Dobzhansky, R. A. Fisher, J. B. S. Haldane, Upper and Haldane. Same Haldane, he gave this theory also. Then Swell, Wright, Ernest Mayr, all these, they gave this theory, the synthetic theory of evolution, which is also known as the modern theory of evolution. And according to it, only genetic variations which are inheritable will lead to changes in an organism, not all changes like it was believed by Darwin. Okay, that is in just the concept of modern concept. I repeat, only genetic variations, that is mutations, which are inherited will lead to changes in the population, not all variations as said by Darwin. So this is the modern concept of evolution. Okay, after this, we have to start with a very important concept, that is Hardy and Weinberg principle. Now, what did Hardy and Weinberg principle state? Hardy and Weinberg principle, first of all, it was given by G.H. Hardy in 1908. And what did he say? The principle states that under certain conditions of stability, the allele frequency, remember allele words, alleles are the different forms of the same gene. For example, in case the character is plant height, the short height and the tall height are the allele, the different alleles. Okay, and the frequency of alleles, that means if suppose I'm saying in present day pea plant, 60% of the plants are tall and 40% are dwarf. Okay, so this frequency at what is the frequency? What is the rather the percentage? Frequency is taken in numbers, whereas percentage is taken in double digits. So the frequencies of population remains the same. Okay, frequency is taken in points, and the sum is coming as 1. Whereas population, the percentage goes in, the total sum comes as 100%. Okay, so allele frequency remains stable and remains constant from generation to generation in sexually reproducing organism. Thus, this stability is called genetic equilibrium or Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. So, if suppose today the frequency of tall plants is 0.6 and the frequency of dwarf plant is 0.4, 0.6 plus 0.4 makes it 1. So this frequency of tall and dwarf will remain same over many generations. After 10 generations also, the frequency of tall will remain 0.6 and the frequency of dwarf will remain 0.4 till the time the conditions are stable. Okay, they also specified what are those conditions under which this stable conditions the change and the equation, the gene frequency will change. So let us see how did they summarize the equation as? They summarized the equation as the sum total of all allelic frequencies is 1 and is represented as P plus Q whole square, first allele and the second allele. That is, if suppose let's take the same example of tall height and dwarf height. So suppose P represents tall height and Q represents dwarf height, then the allele frequency will remain the same, that is P square plus 2PQ plus Q square is equal to 1. अब मैम ये P square 2PQ Q square का क्या मतलब है? It is not, see, this is biology, this is not maths. Although this is related, they have related it to mathematical phenomena, but here P square is representing the frequency of tall individuals. Okay, 2PQ is representing the frequency of heterozygous tall, and Q square is representing the frequency of dwarf individual. We know we are talking about diploid organism. So if an organism is tall, it can be in pea plant, it can be homozygous tall or heterozygous tall also, because tallness is dominant over dwarfness. So P square is representing the frequency of homozygous dominant individual. In this case, homozygous tall individuals. 2PQ is representing the frequency of heterozygous dominant individuals, that is heterozygous tall here in this case, and Q square is representing the frequency of homozygous recessive individuals, that is here, sorry, yes, homozygous recessive, here in this case the dwarf individuals. Okay, and relate the frequency. Suppose the frequency of the organisms, homozygous tall organism is 4. The frequency of heterozygous tall organism is 0.2. And the frequency of homozygous tall individual is 0.4. Then the sum total of the frequency will become 0.4 plus 0.2 plus 0.4. That is, it will be 1. So the frequency of alleles, different alleles, is equal to 1, and this remains constant over many generations till the time the genetic equilibrium is disturbed. Okay, now what do we mean by disturbing of the genetic equilibrium? Genetic equilibriums, here we are not talking about environmental equilibrium. So genetic equilibrium, that is the number of genes in the species, will remain the same if all these factors do not occur. And what are these factors? And again, I'm telling you, this is a very important question. Hardy-Weinberg equation पर one question आता ही आता है board में. Okay, so what are the five factors that affect Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium? First is gene migration. When some individuals of a population migrate to other populations, or when certain individuals come into a population, किसी और population से organisms इस current population में आ गए. We are talking about the gene frequency of a population. जब तक कि उस population में कुछ migration नहीं होता, वहां से बाहर नहीं जाते organisms, या वहां पे इमिग्रेशन नहीं होता, नए ऑर्गेनिजम्स वहां पर अपने नए जीन्स लेकर वहां पर नहीं आते, देन द जीन फ्रीक्वेंसी विल रिमेन सेम। अगर कोई नया ऑर्गेनिज्म किसी और पॉपुलेशन से आ गया इस पॉपुलेशन में, या इस पॉपुलेशन के जीन्स किसी और पॉपुलेशन में चले गए, then maybe the gene frequencies may change because some genes may get lost or added to the second। ठीक है, हो सकता है यहाँ के जीन्स किसी और पॉपुलेशन में चले जाएं या किसी और पॉपुलेशन के जीन्स इस पॉपुलेशन में आ जाए, then the gene frequencies in a given population will change। Okay, if migration occurs a number of times, gene flow occur, अगर बार बार जीन्स बाहर जा रही हैं, then gene flow will occur, that particular gene will be transferred to a new population। तो अगर एक बार जीन मूव होता है, we call it as gene migration। gene flow, genetic flow आपने पढ़ा था in class 10। okay, and if gene migration occurs a large number of time, then we say that gene flow has occurred। so gene flow या gene migration can lead to change in the frequency of allele। second is genetic drift। what is genetic drift? All these terms you have done in class 10। random changes in allele frequency of a population occurring by chance। पता नहीं किस वजह से, जरूरी नहीं है रैंडम मीटिंग की वजह से या इमिग्रेशन या माइग्रेशन की वजह से, बाय चांस बिकॉज ऑफ एनी रीजन द एलील चेंजेस या एलील फ्रीक्वेंसी, अ चेंज इन एलील फ्रीक्वेंसी में अकर। तो अगर कोई सडन चेंज नहीं होता, कोई एक अनप्रेसिडेंटेड इवेंट नहीं होता, इन दैट केस द जीन फ्रीक्वेंसी विल रिमेन द सेम। अगर कुछ सडनली कुछ ऐसा हो जाए कि एक पर्टिकुलर जीन वाले सारे ऑर्गेनिजम्स डेड हो जाएं या दूसरी पर्टिकुलर जीन वाले ऑर्गेनिजम्स का नंबर सडनली इंक्रीज हो जाए, देन ओनली द जीन फ्रीक्वेंसी विल चेंज। अगर सब कुछ नॉर्मल तरीके से चलता रहे, नो सडन चेंजेस आर देयर, देन जीन फ्रीक्वेंसी विल नॉट चेंज। ओके, the change in allele frequency will become so drastically different that they form a new species। genetic drift में suddenly उनमें ऐसे change हुए कि एक पर्टिकुलर फ्रीक्वेंसी वाले एक नए स्पीशीज में कन्वर्ट हो गए। सपोज एक सेम एग्जांपल लेते हैं, अगर सपोज एक पॉपुलेशन ऑफ प्लांट्स में ऑल टॉल प्लांट्स बने, होमोजाइगस टॉल, हेटेरोजाइगस टॉल एंड होमोजाइगस ड्वार्फ। सडनली कुछ ऐसा चेंज हुआ कि जितने भी होमोजाइगस शॉर्ट इंडिविजुअल्स थे, ड्वार्फ्स थे, they are no longer able to hybridize with heterozygous tall या homozygous tall। आपस में तो हाइब्रिडाइज कर पा रहे हैं, बट होमोजाइगस या हेटेरोजाइगस टॉल पी प्लांट्स के साथ वो फर्टिलाइजेशन नहीं शो कर रहे। तो अब इस केस में अगर इंटरब्रीडिंग नहीं पॉसिबल है, तो वी विल से, अब हम उनको एलील ना बुलाकर वी विल से दैट all those organisms have got converted into a new species। तो अब जो ओरिजिनल पॉपुलेशन थी और ओरिजिनल पॉपुलेशन ऑफ पी प्लांट, उनमें फ्रीक्वेंसी क्या बची? सिर्फ टॉल प्लांट्स की बची, होमोजाइगस टॉल की बची और हेटेरोजाइगस टॉल की बची। okay, so that is why these changes, this can lead to changes in the frequency of an organism। the original drifted population becomes the founder। अब फाउंडर पॉपुलेशन क्या बन गई? वो ओरिजिनल पी प्लांट जिसमें कि ये ड्वार्फ प्लांट उसके मेंबर थे। अब ये टर्म्स इंपॉर्टेंट है बेटा, एग्जाम में कई बार ये क्वेश्चन आते हैं, what is founder species, what is founder effect, यही बीच में से उठ के आते हैं। this founder effect is there in your NCERT। okay, so what is the original species, जो original population of pea plant जिसमें कि homozygous tall, heterozygous tall and homozygous dwarf सारे प्लांट्स थे, वो बन गई फाउंडर स्पीशीज। ओके, और उसमें से एक पर्टिकुलर तरीके का एलील बाकी सबसे चेंज होकर के एक नई स्पीशीज में कन्वर्ट हो गया। एंड this making of new species, we call it this change in the phenotype and genotype of the progeny, because of which they are no longer able to interbreed and is resulting in speciation, is called as the founders effect। okay, founder species may, because of founders effect, a new species may arise, speciation may occur, and this leads to changes in the Hardy and Weinberg equilibrium। this leads to disruption of the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium। okay, this is clear with microbial experiments when pre-existing advantageous mutants get selected over few generations speciation occur। कुछ जिनमें एंटीबायोटिक रेजिस्टेंस थी वो सेलेक्ट हो गए। ओके, वो सेलेक्ट होने के बाद कुछ जनरेशंस के बाद उनमें इतने ज्यादा चेंजेस हो गए कि वो पुरानी नॉन रेजिस्टेंट वाले बैक्टीरिया के साथ अब किसी भी तरीके का सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन भी नहीं शो कर सकते हैं और एक नई स्पीशीज में वो कन्वर्ट हो गए हैं. So this is an example of genetic drift. Okay. Then is mutation. Any desirable or undesirable, any sudden change in the sequence of DNA which leads to either morphological or physiological changes in the organism can lead to formation of a new species. और अगर एक नई species बन गई प्री एग्जिस्टिंग species से, तो जो फाउंडर species होगी, जो पुरानी species होगी, उसका genetic frequency, allele frequency will definitely change. Okay. Then is recombination. New combination of genes occurring due to crossing over in meiosis during gametogenesis. ठीक है. अगर जिस समय क्रॉसिंग ओवर, वी नो दैट मेजॉरिटी ऑफ दीज चेंजेस, क्यों हम लोगों ने पढ़ा था ना 9th 10th में, कॉमन क्वेश्चन, अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन वाज why is sexual reproduction favored in higher organisms over asexual reproduction. हम लोगों ने उसका रीजन क्या पढ़ा था? The reason we studied was that sexual reproduction increases the chances of variations and variations leads to adaptation. तो अगर adaptation नहीं होगा, variations नहीं होगा, sorry, variation नहीं होगा तो adaptation नहीं होगा, and if the organisms do not evolve and do not show adaptations to the changing environment, then what will happen? They will become extinct after some time. Okay. So this is what we mean by recombination. We know that crossing over during meiosis results in what? It results in difference in organisms which may lead to speciation. Okay. Then is natural selection. We know about natural selection. Natural selection is the most critical evolutionary process that leads to change in allele frequency. Obviously, जिन organisms में ऐसे genes present हैं which are well adapted to the given environment, what will happen in them? They will be best suited in the given environment. और हमने पढ़ा था उनमें रिप्रोडक्टिव फिटनेस ज्यादा होगी, रिप्रोडक्टिव फिटनेस ज्यादा होगी तो उनके नंबर ऑफ ऑर्गेनिजम्स तेजी से इंक्रीज करेंगे, एंड द ऑर्गेनिजम्स which do not have a reproductive fitness, which are not well adapted to the given environment, their number will go on decreasing. Obviously, one type of organism, one type of alleles number is decreasing, other type of alleles number is increasing. Ultimately, what is happening? Change in allele frequency, difference in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Okay. So, coupled to increasing reproductive success, natural selection makes the population look entirely different from original population, may also lead to speciation. Okay. So this is what, these are the phenomena, 5 phenomena which lead to changes in this Hardy and Weinberg equilibrium equation. ठीक है, ये frequency of genes will change because of natural selection, because of genetic drift, because of gene flow, because of mutations or recombinations. Fine. Then we come to natural selection is a process. Natural selection को ही उन्होंने आगे explain किया है कि natural selection किस किस तरीके का हो सकता है. How many types of natural selection can be there? So on the basis of the natural selection कौन से वाले trait को favor कर रहा है? Natural selection can be of 3 types. Again board में इसके questions इस table पे based, कई बार ये टेबल बनाने के लिए आ जाता है, कई बार ये क्वेश्चन आया हुआ है 3 ways of natural selection or how natural selection exists or occurs in nature. What are the 3 ways in which natural selection can show its effect on a species or on a population? इस पे क्वेश्चन आया हुआ है बोर्ड्स में number of times. Okay, so let us see what are the 3 ways in which natural selection can proceed. First is stabilizing selection. Stabilizing selection मतलब जो stability को promote करे. Okay, in which more individuals acquire mean character value, that is variation is much reduced. Mean character value, या तो अब हम mean character value को समझने के लिए एक example ले लेते हैं कि कुछ जिराफ बहुत tall थे, या जिराफ को छोड़ो कोई भी organism, a very tall plant, a dwarf plant or a medium sized plant. ओके, या फिर वो हेट्रोजाइगस टॉल कंडीशन है. तो अगर सपोज मीडियन कंडीशन, दैट स्टेबलाइजिंग कंडीशन, दैट इज ईदर द एवरेज हाइटेड प्लांट या फिर हेट्रोजाइगस कंडीशन, हेट्रोजाइगस टॉल प्लांट्स आर बीइंग are being selected more by nature. Natural selection हम नहीं कर रहे हैं, nature अपने आप एक particular तरीके के organisms को select कर रहा है. Okay, so either the organisms having a medium type of a character are getting selected, then we call it as stabilizing selection. यहाँ से देखते हैं, here they are showing you the first type of selection. Okay, the first type of selection is the stabilizing selection. इसको हम कैसे understand करते हैं? Suppose यहाँ पर the organisms that were having the tall height were present, and here it was showing the organisms with a dwarf height, और ये medium height वाले organisms थे. ठीक है, तो in this the medium heighted organism उनका amount सबसे ज्यादा हो गया है. So this is a stabilizing selection. ना तो tall को prefer किया, ना dwarf को, medium कैरेक्टर वाले ऑर्गेनिजम्स को प्रेफर किया. देन इज डायरेक्शनल चेंज. Directional change in which more individuals acquire value other than the mean character value. ज्यादातर organisms या तो बहुत tall हो गए, either the peak shifts this side or the peak shifts this side. दोनों conditions में it will be called as directional selection. इसमें सिर्फ they are saying कि dwarfness की तरफ, because what example I'm giving you, यहाँ पे tallness, यहाँ पे मीडियम हाइट, यहाँ पर ड्वार्फ हाइट. ठीक है, तो नेचर ने किसको सिलेक्ट करा? या तो उसने सारे ड्वार्फ हाइट वालों को सिलेक्ट करा, या और उन्होंने सिर्फ टॉल हाइट वालों को सिलेक्ट करा. तो या तो टॉल हाइट वालों का नंबर इंक्रीज हो गया और बाकी सबका नंबर डिक्रीज होता चला गया, मीडियम और शॉर्ट हाइट वालों का, या सिर्फ शॉर्ट हाइट वालों का नंबर इंक्रीज हुआ, मीडियम एंड ड्वार्फ एंड टॉल हाइट वालों का नंबर डिक्रीज होता चला गया. देन इट विल बी कॉल्ड एज अ directional change. And if then disruptive selection is when the individuals acquire more peripheral character value at both ends of the distribution curve. Okay, just give me a minute. Discussing about the disruptive selection. Okay, so in disruptive selection, disruptive दो अलग peaks को तो suggest कर रहा है, को support कर रहा है nature, but it is not supporting any medium height. Okay, so disruptive selection in which the individuals acquire peripheral character, या तो सारे tall and साथ के साथ, it's not that only tall, either tall plus all the dwarf, all the extreme characters are supported and the medium characters are eliminated from the environment. Okay, so this is what we mean by disruptive selection. So natural selection या तो कोई medium characters को promote करेगा, या फिर extreme characters को promote कर सकता है, extreme tall or extreme dwarf. Okay, या extreme characters in any case, any kind of alleles. Okay, या फिर it can support both the extreme characters and eliminate all the medium characters. This is what we mean by disruptive selection. So natural selection, 3 types, and these are the tables. So ये वाला table आप इस तरफ भी बना सकते हैं, and it can be formed this side also. It shifts to either one of the sides. Here it is shifting to both the sides, and in between are the medium characters. Okay. Then after this, the last topic, that is history of evolution of animals. What is the history of evolution of animals? Now for this I have shared for evolution of man, when you get your assignments, I have shared a very beautiful video. There's a video in which slowly and gradually they are showing an ape moving, or niche is the name of that ape is coming, and dhire dhire see the posture which is changing. It's a very simple video, a very short video, but you must all see that video in which they have shown that dhire dhire the man is increasing in size, in height, and the shape of the posture of man and the characters are also changing, and simultaneously they are giving the name. So when you get that assignment, you must see that that video specifically, or rather what I'll do is I'll just show you the video here. Okay, evolution. It will be a very interesting video. Just give me a minute, I'll show you that video, and simultaneously you can see it in your assignments also. So now you can see, oh, Aditya, this is Dryopithecus. lived 15 to 20 million years ago. See the changes. More erect posture, Ramapithecus lived 7 million years ago. Then as Ardipithecus ramidus lived 4.4 million years ago. Then as Australopithecus lived 4.2 to 3.9 million years ago. Australopithecus afarensis lived 3.4 to 2.9 million years ago. Again. So what you have to see is you have to pay attention on the erection of the posture, the size of the hind limb and forelimb, the shape of the brain and the body hairs. These are the things you have to keep in mind while you're seeing this video, so that at least those changes you can observe. Okay. Australopithecus robustus 2.1 to 1.6 million years ago. Australopithecus bossei 2.3 to 1.1 million years ago. Homo habilis 4.4 to 1.5 million years ago. Homo erectus 1.8 to 3 lakh years ago. Homo sapiens archaea 5 lakh to 2 lakh years ago. Homo sapiens neanderthalensis 2,30,000 to 30,000 years ago. Homo sapiens modern 2,30,000 to 30,000 years ago they appeared. Okay, so this is it. This gives you an insight of the type of evolution, how evolution has taken place in man, how the posture went on changing, how the number of body hairs they reduced, and the cranial capacity it went on increasing. Okay, so this was about the evolution in man, although I'll be giving you a table also in tabular form also, the evolution of man. Okay, now we were doing this history of evolution of animals, how animals they evolved on this earth. About 2000 million years ago, the first cellular life form appeared on earth, as we have already studied origin of life. Slowly these single celled organisms evolved into multicellular organisms. Invertebrates were formed about 500 billion years ago. Jawless fishes have evolved because we know that life evolved from water. Earth was filled with water, and because of reactions taking place with of these compounds that fell with rainfall into water, life must have evolved. So first life must have evolved from water. So jawless fishes must have evolved. Jawless fishes, the Agnatha. Okay, you remember diversity, Agnatha, and in Agnatha, the class Plecodermi, I forgot the name of the class, sorry. So it consists of all the jawless extinct fishes. Okay, so in Agnatha, the extinct jawless fishes are present. So maybe they evolved, human present day diversity have evolved from the jawless fishes. Around the same type, fish with stout and strong fins that could move on land and go back in water must have appeared. Now, this is something you must understand. Please open your books and you must mark this in your book. This is something very, very important because questions, MCQs particularly come from this part. Please mark in your books. It is given on page number 138. Open your books to page number 138. All these steps are already marked in your book. Around 2000 million years ago, where will you find page 137. So brief account of evolution starts with the first line, that is about 2000 million years ago. The first Maya means million years ago, first cellular life forms appeared on earth. Come to page 138. On page 138, they are showing the third line is showing you the second step of evolution. Slowly, single-celled organism became multicellular life forms. Then comes the third step. Followed, it is in continuation. Third step. By the time of 500 million years ago, invertebrates were formed and they were active. Then where do you get the next point? Next point is in continuation. Fourth point, jawless fish probably evolved around 350 million years ago. Then comes the next point, that is the fifth point. Seaweeds and few plants existed probably around 320 million years ago. Now the explanation of this jawless fish, now you correct that here in this presentation they have given you 340 million years ago, but as per NCERT it is 350. So refer to the figures which are given in your NCERT. It is 350 million years ago. Now they are telling you about this very important fish. See here the last three lines. Read the last three lines, Aditya. Aditya, please unmute yourself and read.
In South Africa happened to be in coelacanth, which was thought to be extinct. These animals,
Yes.
called lobefins, evolved into the first amphibians that lived on both land and water.
This is a very, very important line because the questions relating to the coelacanth and lobefins, they have come in boards large number of times. Sorry, अलग-अलग तरीके से questions आते हैं. Excuse me. It can be how present day amphibians they evolved. What could be the ancestors of present day amphibians? How can you say that present day amphibians evolved from water animals? So this coelacanth was a fish that was actually caught. ऐसा माना जाता था कि ऐसे fishes they are extinct. और इस fish की unique point क्या था? The unique point was कि these fishes they have इनको lobe fins भी कहते थे, and it was they had the ability to move to the land and then go back. Okay. So because we know that frogs and salamanders are amphibians, amphi means dual character, land and water दोनों में रह सकते हैं. तो इसका मतलब that maybe the present day frogs and salamanders have evolved from these fishes. Okay, and we actually caught such a fish 1938 में. One such fish was actually caught, which showed that yes, fishes could have later evolved into the present day frogs and salamanders. And what was the unique point of these fishes? They lived in water but could move to land and then go back in water. So dual characteristic ये show कर सकते थे. Fine. So now these amphibians evolved into reptiles. अब आगे धीरे धीरे कैसे evolution हुआ होगा? पहले jawless fishes बनी. Jawless fishes से maybe these coelacanths या lobefins must have evolved. उनका snout develop हो गया, the pointed nose develop हो गया, उनके strong fins develop हो गए, and slowly and gradually they develop the ability to move to the land and come back. Okay, and after this what happened? From these amphibians developed the reptiles. अब reptiles और amphibians में एक major difference is that the reptiles lay thick-shelled eggs. They are capable of only terrestrial habitats. Also, they can go back in water also. But some of them, okay. But उनकी एक बहुत positive feature is they are not dependent upon water for their life cycle क्योंकि उनके जो eggs होते हैं, those have a thick shell which does not dry up in the sun. But whereas amphibians have a thin shelled egg. So for fertilization, for laying of eggs, water is absolutely necessary for amphibians. Okay, in order to complete their life cycle. जबकि reptiles के साथ ऐसा नहीं है. So maybe amphibians में modification आया. They started laying eggs with a harder covering, because of which the eggs did not used to dry. तो एग को वाटर में ले करने की जरूरत भी खत्म हो गई, and they finally evolved into reptiles, and reptiles became more successful than amphibians because they were no longer dependent on water for laying eggs. अब इसके बाद क्या हुआ होगा नेक्स्ट? इसके बाद नेक्स्ट हुआ होगा in the next 200 million years or so, reptiles of different shapes and size dominated the earth. काफी टाइम तक, क्योंकि land animals बन गए reptiles, they dominated this earth for a very long time. And some of these हो सकता है इन्हीं में से कुछ reptiles वापस water में चले गए, and they evolved into fish like reptiles, such as this reptile which has been given here. Again, a very important, it is mentioned here. Yes, come to page number 140. Okay, although they have not mentioned the name of this reptile, if you want, you can name this, write the name of this reptile here. That is Ichthyosaurus was a reptile that evolved into fish. Okay, and around at the same time, 200 million years ago, some of them went into water and evolved into fish, and some of them remained as reptiles. Okay, and then some of these reptiles they suddenly disappeared from the earth because we still don't know कि ऐसा क्या हुआ कि reptiles suddenly disappear हो गए, and it was called as a case of mass extinction by the scientists. And about 65 million years ago, while small reptiles continue to exist today, like birds and crocodiles, they must have evolved into birds, although birds are not reptiles. But yes, present day reptiles like crocodiles, like lizards, like snakes are present today. So जितने भी large reptiles हुए होंगे, they underwent mass extinction. But small reptiles, they protected themselves, they were saved from this mass extinction, and they evolved into present day organisms. ठीक है, जिस समय reptiles disappear हुए, because reptiles, the dinosaurs, they were stronger than the mammals. तो उस समय mammals बहुत ज़्यादा, their number did not used to increase. Yes, Aditya.
Ma'am, we know that dinosaurs are already like big reptiles, we can say. So can we say like because of sudden changes in the environment, they have also evolved into smaller reptiles?
हो सकता है. See,
Because
we are not going there and seeing what had happened. लेकिन ज़्यादातर scientists का मानना है कि अगर evolution होता, see, अगर evolution जो हम मानते हैं कि evolution has taken place, तो evolution के बाद भी the old organisms they do not cease to exist on this earth. वो exist करते हैं, ठीक है. Some of the members of that type, those old types of reptiles, should have been present on this earth. उनमें से अगर कुछ evolve हो गए, तो अगर apes हैं तो man है आज, तो apes भी present हैं land पर. Okay, all of them have not got extinct, right? So anything is possible, but what scientists believe is कि mass extinction ही हुआ होगा, otherwise उनमें से कुछ type of large reptiles आज present होते, जबकि उतने large reptiles एक भी sample is not present today. Okay, yes, Aditya.
But ma'am, I've read in a book that like crocodiles and mosquitoes, these two like species are only like from the Jurassic time. Like they have been like crocodiles and mosquitoes, both of them are like from so
Jurassic
many.
era, yes. Okay, so
So ma'am, we
that
can
is,
say that they have evolved.
see, if they are existing from the Jurassic era means वो उन्होंने environmental conditions को tolerate करके अपने आप को थोड़ा बहुत change करा, and because of which they kept adapting themselves to the new environmental condition without changing their morphology to a very great extent. अगर उनका morphology बहुत ज़्यादा change हो गई होती तो we wouldn't have been calling those extinct form as mosquitoes, right? Aditya, am I clear?
Yes,
ठीक है,
ma'am.
इसका मतलब उन्होंने अपनी मोर्फोलॉजी को बहुत ज्यादा चेंज करे बिना एनाटॉमिकली अपने आप को इस तरीके से चेंज किया दैट दे केप्ट अडैप्टिंग देमसेल्फ टू द एनवायरनमेंट. दिस इज व्हाट आई एम सेइंग कि जब एवोल्यूशन होता है तो उसकी वजह से इट इज अ ब्रांचिंग डिसेंट. इट इज नॉट दैट कि ओल्ड टाइप पूरी के पूरे एक्सटिंक्ट हो जाते हैं. ऐसे तो सारी लाइफ जो है वो यूनिसेल्युलर ऑर्गेनिज्म बैक्टीरिया लाइक ऑर्गेनिज्म से बनी है, बट बैक्टीरिया आज भी प्रेजेंट है. ओके, तो अगर रेप्टाइल्स ने ही इवॉल्व किया होता इनटू प्रेजेंट डे स्मॉलर रेप्टाइल्स और प्रेजेंट डे मैमल्स, तो उस तरीके के भी कुछ रेप्टाइल्स तो इस समय अर्थ पर प्रेजेंट होने चाहिए थे. whereas no such reptile, dinosaur like reptiles, they are till date they have not been reported anywhere. Okay, so maybe it's a case of mass extinction, maybe it is a case of natural selection and they have totally changed themselves. Nobody knows. Scientists believe it must have been mass extinction. Okay, so when that reptiles disappeared, mammals started dominating the earth. Mammals उस समय भी कुछ evolve होके mammals were present, but they could not dominate क्योंकि reptiles उनसे ज़्यादा strong थे, dinosaurs उनके ज़्यादा strong थे, and they used to take these mammals at their food. उनको food की तरह खाते थे, तो उनका number ज़्यादा बढ़ ही नहीं पाता था. But when dinosaurs became extinct, mammals started increasing in number, and the first mammal was like shrew. Okay, so it is there in your book. बोर्ड में भी बहुत बार आया है. The first known mammal, page 140, second paragraph, first line. The first mammals were like shrews, small size. So this is an example of a shrew जिनपे these were mammals like horse. इन सारे mammals से मिलते जुलते उनमें characteristics थे. कुछ characteristics horse वाले थे, see the type of legs they are having. कुछ characteristics उनके hippopotamus वाले थे, maybe the type of the body shape they had. Some characteristics were like rabbit, maybe the ears, the eyes, beard, etc. Okay, so they had some of the characteristics that were related to all these types of mammals in South America. But when South America joined North America in continental drift, these animals were overridden by the fauna of North America. तो सबसे पहले mammals रहे होंगे shrews, लेकिन उसके बाद जिसमें North America, South America एक दूसरे से मिले, because of continental drift was constantly taking place. So these were overridden by the fauna of the North America. वहाँ के जिस तरीके के animals थे, उन animals के सामने इनका number decrease होता चला गया. Okay. Australian land mass remained isolated and pouched mammals survived as there was no competition from any other mammal. Australia में marsupials were there और Australia का हमेशा से अलग ही रहा, continental drift में किसी और land mass से जाकर के वो जुड़ा नहीं. That is why the marsupials which had evolved there, उनको competition नहीं face करना पड़ा किसी एक नए तरीके के land animal से. Shrews क्यों खत्म हुए, उनका number क्यों कम होता चला गया, क्योंकि they had to face competition or threat, maybe even predation from other animals present in North America. But Australian marsupials को कोई भी competition में नहीं मिला, so even present day they exist as marsupials only. उनको change करने की जरूरत ही नहीं महसूस हुई अपने आप को. Okay, so this is how evolution must have taken place. So these must have been the steps of evolution. सबसे पहले the turtles, lizards, snakes, tuataras, crocodiles, birds, and mammals. This must have been the sequence of evolution, and this is how the present day, the earlier reptiles, they must have evolved into all these different types of present day organisms. So ये सारे के सारे present day organisms have all evolved from early reptiles by following different lineages. Okay, is this in clear? इस lineage को सीधे सीधे वो change हो गया. Small lizards, small reptiles में तो lizard बन गया. Some of them उनके limbs खत्म हो गए तो वो snake में convert हो गए, और उनमें थोड़े से changes हुए, sizes decrease हुए. Then the tuataras में convert हो गए. Some of them changed into these dinosaurs. Dinosaurs के extinct होने से mammals का amount increase होता चला गया. Some of them have been may have evolved into the pelycosaurs, then developed into therapsids, and therapsids आगे evolve हो गए होंगे mammals में. Mammals का number increase हुआ because of extinction of dinosaurs. So ultimately, what is the gist of this table? This table shows कि जितने भी present day diversity दिख रही है आपको इन animals की, all had a common ancestor in the form of early reptiles. Okay. Then was history of evolution of plant, which is given here on. Okay, it is time.